episode of Progress, Potential, and Possibilities, discussions with fascinating people designing a better tomorrow for all of us. I'm your host, Ira Pastor.
All right, welcome everybody again to another episode of the show with a guest that's once again involved in creating a better tomorrow for all of us, this time on the healthy longevity front. As viewers of the show know, we talked a couple weeks ago with Len Hayflick, the godfather of so-called cellular senescence. Also spent some time with folks over the last couple of years looking at the area of senolytics and sort of selective ablation of senescent cells. Today we're going to meet with a guest working in a really unique area of what we'll sort of broadly call as the xenotherapeutic space. We're joined today by Dr. Carolina Reis Oliveria, who is the CEO and co-founder of OneSkin Technologies, which is a biotech platform company dedicated to exploring a variety of different tools and technologies in the longevity science space. Carolina holds her Ph.D. in Immunology from the Federal University of Minas Gerais in Brazil in collaboration with Rutgers University. While she was there, she conducted research in the area of pluripotent stem cells as a source for retinal pigmented epithelial cells and the possibility of these cells not just be used therapeutically, but also as tools for toxicological screening and other forms of screening for drugs with potential intra-ocular applications. In addition to this company, she also in the past founded a company called CELLSEQ in Brazil, which once again was involved in tools to help revolutionize safety and toxicology testing, studying pharmaceutical, cosmetic, agro-chemicals, and so forth, using stem cells as a technology base. She's an alumnus of IndieBio, which is one of the leading biotech accelerators. And in 2016, she relocated from Brazil to Silicon Valley to co-found the current company, OneSkin, and to lead the development of the company's various technologies. Well, that being said, Carolina, thank you for taking the time to come on the show today.
Yeah, thanks, Ira, for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's an exciting set of stories and initiatives that you've been involved in. Typically, we start things off just by handing our guests the floor for a little bit to talk a bit more about themselves. If you can sort of start back at the beginning, if you can take us a little bit in your journey. Obviously, we know you grew up in Brazil, but if you could tell us a little bit about how you developed your interests in science, in biotech and immunology, and a little bit of your path, a little more of the details, that'd be great, to the founding of OneSkin.
Yeah, sure. So I started to get involved in science. I was finishing high school. I remember that I was studying engineering in genetics, and then I was fascinated, how we can manipulate the DNA and we can, cut and paste, and at that time we didn't have CRISPR yet, but we already have recombinant plasmids and so on. And this was very interesting to me, and also how scientists are able to really understand everything in the molecular level. We can't see things, but we can develop all of those tools that we can measure the angles that the DNA is structured, and everything is so perfect and so well orchestrated. And to me, once we understand this at a molecular and cellular level, basically understand how we humans work, right? How our bodies and our organisms, and how eventually this system stop working and then leads to diseases. So I was very interested in how we can basically get a deep understanding of this process in a way that eventually we can come up with new cures for diseases. And I was always interested in researching any area of science that I could see in the future an application that would really impact humans' health. So since my first years in college, I was looking for research that I could see a clear application. So I started with virology. I worked a little bit with vaccines and also my master. And then on my PhD, I decided to move to this field of stem cells that was booming, 2007, 2008, at the time that the Yamanaka revolutionized the field with, IPS. And and to me, I could see so many applications, from, again, a therapeutical application to, you know, cure diseases. Also to use this to build the human models in the lab. So basically replicate tissues and being able to study how, you know, those tissues work and how we can test the new drugs and new treatments. So that's where I focused my PhD thesis. And when I was finishing my PhD, I want to bring, you know, that research from the lab to the market, and I joined my two colleagues that were also finishing PhD in similar area. One is more focused on bioinformatics, and we decided to start our first company focusing on developing human tissues derived from stem cells. So my background was mainly in retina. Juliana had a background in producing cardiomyocytes. So we were inspired by this company here in the US, Cellular Dynamics, that eventually was acquired. But it made so much sense for us that we should use, you know, this technology to better develop drugs and new products and really predict events of toxicity, or, you know, before we get to the clinics, right? Because a lot of the drugs, I would say that more than 90% of the drugs fail because of toxicity that we can predict in, you know, in preclinical studies. So we started with this approach back in Brazil, and we start talking to, you know, to the pharmaceutical companies and also to the cosmetic companies. And eventually we got more traction from the cosmetic industry, because they were really needing an alternative method to develop their products and not using animals anymore. So in Europe, you know, animal testing was banned since 2013. In Brazil, in 2014, this was really a hot topic, and this is a very clear, like, worldwide trend. So we decided not only to focus on those retina and heart models, but also in building skins in the lab. So a human skin is the model that's already accepted by the regulatory agencies that can replace animal testing. And it's not that complicated when you compare to other 3D organs. So we decided to focus this approach, our technology, to build the human skins. And eventually we came here to the US to join IndieBio, and that's when the company really changed our approach in terms of not only providing new models, but also developing new strategies to target aging at the molecular level. So was a very interesting, I would say, shift in terms of approach, but it's basically trying to understand how we can use our expertise to meet, you know, a need that no one else is meeting, right? So how we can really have a clear and unique, you know, clear differential and a unique product in the market. And basically we realized that this anti-aging market was a market that's like growing, you know, it's a massive market, and consumers are still lost in terms which products work, which don't, what's like real science, what's like snake oil. And we were seeing so much going on in terms of the longevity field and understanding, you know, all the hallmarks of aging. And none of those companies, those cosmetic companies, they were really addressing the cause of aging, right? A lot of the products, they make your skin to look better. Sometimes they plump your skin. It's kind of a quick fix, but it's not really targeting the cause of the process. And then we decided to combine our expertise, you know, since you can grow human skin in the lab, if we can recapitulate the skin aging process, we can test a variety of treatments, and then we can see which one is really reversing the skin aging, both at the molecular level, but also at the tissue level, how the skin is organized, how the skin is functioning. So that's how we got to this field of aging and longevity. Right now, very focused on skin, but later we have this vision of expanding beyond the skin, because what we know is that what leads to skin aging, the mechanisms are very similar to what leads to other tissues aging. So hopefully we can translate this application to other tissues.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for that intro. And yeah, it's a very elegant story, and I do appreciate the concept or the strategy of taking a tool that you develop and then obviously looking at therapeutic candidates on your own and going up the sort of the value chain. So that's very exciting.
Yeah. And it's basically following, I mean, as an entrepreneur, you need to meet two needs. One is from the market and the other one is from the investors. So the investors, they basically they told us, okay, your technology is very interesting. You have this amazing platform to test other companies' products. Why you don't develop your own products, since you understand the process so well? And it's very different when you are only providing service from when you are creating a product, and mainly if it's a product that can really have a significant effect on skin aging or aging. This is, the potential is huge, and this is something that is very different from Brazil. Here, if you have a more ambitious goal or vision, you should go for it, and you're gonna find people that back you up. In Brazil, it's almost, okay, let's de-risk the business, let's try to generate some revenue, and then you go for probably the big fish. But yeah, here we had this, I would say, opportunity to already pursue this project that can have an immense impact if we can do something about aging, right?
Yeah, and it's it actually leads me into a question before we get into some of the scientific angle. It's reading too about the company. Obviously, you're 4 Brazilian female PhDs. One's an immunologist, one's a molecular biologist, one's a bioinformatician, and then I think the 4th is a specialist in tissue engineering. A great story. I'm sort of interested in the you went to IndieBio. Have you raised a lot of private equity yet in the U.S., or are you still sort of angel funded? And at the same time, I'm just interested because I've sort of been in previous lives in sort of similar situation where you have a company that's based on both consumer goods as well as drugs. I'm just interested in sort of the different investor feedback you get on that, because obviously your consumer packaged good people want, as you were saying, they don't want revenues today, but they want revenues soon. But the drug people will wait for 10 years. Any interesting stories about investors, other partners that come to the table, and which on how you get dragged around with that story? I'm just as a side note. I was fascinated by it.
Yeah, for sure. That's an interesting question, and it's like you have to. It's a trade-off, right? Yeah. When you decide to go for a consumer, you have an opportunity to bring a technology that can take maybe 10 years to be approved by FDA to consumers right now. So you can already, since the product and the technology is safe, you can already bring these benefits to people. And as a consumer and as someone that really wants to bring this science to people, it feels the right path. But on the other hand, it's you need to deal with people that don't look as in a cosmetic as a product that have the same I would say, stringency of, a therapy or a drug. Investors is also very interesting to see the biotech or, the pharma investors. They don't like consumers. The consumers, they don't appreciate that much the science.
Yeah.
So it's a very fine, I would say, balance to find those people that see both opportunities. I think we have a very interesting opportunity here. If you see that, I mean, skin aging is not only a huge consumer market, but it's a huge, I would say, health problem, for our health as a whole. So if we think that the skin is our largest organ and how skin aging can impact our body's health, I think people will, pay more attention or care a little bit more about, treating their skin. So investors and partners that see not only the market opportunity of a company that really brings, solid science in a product that can really make a significant, change or impact in people's skin and people's health. And in parallel, this technology can be explored and tested in other models for other applications and conditions, systemically, or other tissues, disease specific. So we have here, basically like two shots, right? We have the opportunity of a consumer business that can go super well, and we have also the therapeutic route that we are working to bring more data, and eventually we can find a partner, a pharmaceutical company that can take off this side of the business. But it's not easy to find the people that will see the opportunity, and that's fair. Some people are like specialized on one type of business, and they are used to that, and that's okay.
Right.
But we were lucky to find very smart and initially. So up to date, we raised 7.5 million. We are pre-Series A right now. Okay. So after IndieBio, we raised our seed round, and then we raised post-seed before launching our product. So we found those investors that are interested both in our technology. They see the market opportunity. I think both, longevity or skin aging, it's a massive market. And they see, the value of our technology and the potential of our technology to be really, explored in different areas. So we were lucky to find those, partners and supporters. And now for Series A, what I'm really planning is to bring some investors that will support the consumer business, that really see the potential on the consumer business, and on their side, investors. There are several funds that they do biotech and they do consumer. So my goal is to find those that can help us to basically activate both sides of the business. Our priority right now is really the consumer business, but the science is still going every single day in the lab. We are growing human skin. We are doing new tests. We are very active and already testing with partners application for other tissues, beyond the skin.
Got it. Yeah, and I would make a side. I totally appreciate the story, and I would make a side mention that I've been in cosmetic companies in the past that have technology beyond what I ever saw in pharma, and just because of a lot of the things that they test in cosmetic that you don't normally think about for traditional drugs, so you're just taking a pill. But anyway, that's a different story. We'll get into that later.
And also because it's hard for the cosmetic companies to really share everything that they are doing because of the regulation. You cannot make the claims that this is really changing the molecular, the cellular structure of your tissue. But there is a lot of good science being done.
So, some of it's very impressive. But anyway, getting to you. So you recently published a preprint in bioarchives. It was entitled "Send a Therapeutic Peptide Reduces Skin Biologic Age, Improves Skin Health Biomarkers." You have sort of this lead peptide, OS1. I'm just, if you, I guess, two-part question. Obviously, we talk about senescence. We've spoken quite a bit, I would say, about senolytics in the past, or selective ablation of these cells. From what I sort of understand, yours is a little bit more what we'll term sort of xenomorphic, the ability to sort of nudge a senescent cell to either be younger or in sort of a more reprogramming sense. Talk a little bit about sort of the strategy there versus a straight senolytic approach, and then if you could sort of like how you ended up with a peptide versus a small molecule, just a little bit of what's going on to date in going from the skin equivalents and some of the testing to how you selected this candidate.
Sure. So just some step backs. When we decided to focus on this market, we first decided to validate the efficacy of products by measuring the molecular age of the skin. So based on Horvath's work, we decided to build our own skin molecular clock. Mm-hmm. And that's how we started testing products that were available until we basically realized that none of them were really focusing on, the root causes of aging. And that's when we saw an opportunity. Okay, there is so much being done in terms of targeting senescence for other tissues. Why no one is doing this for skin? So it seems that if we can prevent, delete or decrease the amount of senescent cells in skin, this can be a more effective strategy to really promote skin rejuvenation and improve skin health and function. So we decided to develop our own screening platform, and first we tested everything that was available in terms of published senolytics, and eventually we were thinking to screen libraries of FDA approved mm-hmm. drugs, but to bring these small molecules as a consumer product would be a little harder, mainly because it's a chemical entity. It's not categorized as safe, by the FDA. On the other hand, cosmetic or peptides, they are already used in cosmetics. They are biological molecule. The similarity with human peptides can be much bigger. Yep. So this allows us to bring this molecule in a cosmetic product without having to go to the FDA route. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then we found a partner that was researching antimicrobial peptides, this professor in Brazil. And then we decided to screen his library of 200 peptides, short peptides, to evaluate if some of those peptides would have an effect in decreasing the total amount of senescent cells. Mm-hmm. And then we found 4 hits from this first screening, and then we generated from this first 4, we generated 800 peptides. We used an algorithm Joker that makes permutations in the sequence. So basically we want to optimize the efficiency of those 4 hits, and then we screened again, and then we got to OS1. That's our main lead compound today. And in OS1, what we have seen, so basically our models, we use cells that are highly senescent or derived from progeria patients, or cells that we induce senescence with UVB exposure. And when we treated those cells, we see that we decrease the total amount of senescent cells. And we have done several studies. We don't see apoptosis. So our main, the main pathways that we are activating is mainly related to DNA repair. So we are improving the DNA repair capacity of those cells. and we decrease also the amount of inflammation that's released. So in the end, you don't have that feedback loop that you have inflammation, senescence that leads to more senescence. Basically, we increase DNA repair, you have less senescence, you have less inflammation. So in the end, you really have, you know, a healthier tissue because of we stopped it and we prevented this this cycle of inducing senescence based on, you know, the initial an initial stress that we induced to create more senescent cells.
Excellent, excellent. As you're talking about that feedback, or that sort of that deadly feedback cycle of senescence and inflammation and so forth, it brings to mind, you know, obviously you're working on the skin with these products. You're also going to be looking at, you know, down the road, the systemic possibilities. There's the third area in between, and you know, there was this study a couple of years ago. You're probably more familiar with than I am. It was done in San Francisco at the Veterans Administration hospital, where they were looking at various pro-inflammatory cytokines linked to different diseases and Alzheimer's and so forth, diabetes, using skin, just basic skin cream. This won't be anything fancy, but how moisturization in general keeps the skin, whatever, healthier and so forth, less inflammation, less inflammatory cytokines into the system. Potentially, you're working in an area that straddles both of these, because not only can you make someone look good, but if you can keep some of that inflammatory, you know, pharmacology, whatever, from seeping down, let's say, to other areas of the body, it could be very sort of a third area. Have you focus on that at all? You sort of looking at or thinking how, you know, we're going to screen sort of the stuff in the skin is going to now trickle down and be beneficial or so forth in other systems, other animal models, whatever you might be doing?
Yeah, I mean, this study to us was like a revelation, you know, because we knew of the importance of the skin, but we were not making the direct correlation. And this study, basically, they use a cream that contains a lot of lipids and ceramides,
Right.
so it helps maintaining like a physical barrier to your skin, so you decrease the amount of, you know, inflammatory signals that's released to your bloodstream. So this was not like a cream developed to really target aging or anything like that. And to us, what we are doing, and right now it's, you know, initially focused or direct to be applied on the face, on, you know, hands and neck, but it makes a lot of sense that we would have, you know, a cream to treat your body as well, because since we are targeting senescence, and senescence probably are the main source of this inflammation that's being generated by the skin, right? So as we age and our skin deteriorates, the accumulation of senescent cells will produce inflammation that can significantly influence our body's levels of inflammation. So if we can decrease the amount of senescent cells systemically in our skin, this can help us to prevent or delay, you know, chronic diseases. And this was so interesting to us. And it makes sense that we are going to develop a body cream, and we are going to repeat this study and really measure if targeting senescent cells, the skin can affect and decrease the levels of inflammation, you know, systemically through your bloodstream. So definitely this is in our pipeline. So everyone asks us what's like the next product, and a body cream is the most logical product that we should release, because if we're talking about longevity and, you know, health in general, is not about only your face and, you know, hands and neck. It's about your whole body and how your skin can really have, you know, a very, I would say, more active role in terms of, you know, maintaining your body's health. if we can prove that, I think everyone will be more interested in treating their skin or looking for a product that keeps their skin healthy. And even I have a personal story that I think makes this case even more interesting. My dad, he always had like a very thin and fragile skin, and he was apparently healthy until 2 years ago. He had a heart attack, and unfortunately, a little bit later, he passed away. And to me, this is telling me that he was already sick inside, you know, like he had this cardiovascular problem that no one was really, you know, seeing, but his skin was very thin and very weak. So I think this is an interesting indication that skin is a reflection of your internal health, you know. And it's very, a lot of times we ignore that, or we are not aware of that. But if we can treat our body from inside out, but also from the outside in, I think this is a way that we can, you know, make more to keep our body's health. And yeah, we definitely want to explore this correlation better and bring more awareness around this area.
Along those lines, obviously, you talk pharmaceutical, we're talking skincare. Well, I was saying several years. This is more like 20 years ago. In a previous career, I had a business relationship with a Brazilian company called Natura, which was pretty well probably involved in natural products, and Brazil is home to such, you know, amazing plant biodiversity. Obviously, you know, one of the areas that you think about in between the cosmetics and the drugs is obviously supplements and nutritional products, things of this nature. And there's been a lot over the last couple of years in just sort of whether the scientific press or the popular press about whether certain foods can be senolytic or certain spices, herbs, what have you. I was just off the top of my head, have you done any work interestingly in your in OneSkin or in your screening company, looking at natural products, and potentially are there maybe some quick wins in the natural product world, the phytochemical world, as far as either senolytics or senomorphics, we'll call them, are concerned? And if this is confidential, you don't have to say anything. I was just wondering.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Everything that we receive from, you know, partners or collaborators, we first screen for their activity on senescence, and we have tests, for example, fisetin or other, you know, natural compounds that are published there. And I would say that fisetin works in a very specific concentration. So, for example, at 20 micromolars, we saw a senolytic activity. Now, how you deliver 20 micromolars inside the skin, that's a challenge, you know. Also, the colors. So some people are, you know, encapsulating nanoparticles. There are ways, but I think the main thing with some of those compounds is to really making sure that we are delivering the concentration that's effective, I would say, in the, you know, deeper layers of the skin. For our peptide, for example, we do a lot of penetration tests. So we apply topically, both in the skin models, but also in skin explants or, you know, skin biopsies that we can get from plastic surgeries, leftover skins. And then we can apply the cream, and then we can later separate derms from epiderms, and we can measure the amount of peptide in the derms that, you know, really can go across the stratum corneum, the skin barrier. So for us, we can quantify the amount that goes in, and then we can calculate how much you need to add on top. I would say for natural products, this is a challenge in terms of, you know, quantifying the amount that goes in, and also making sure that you can get that penetration.
Right.
There is also a lot of variability in terms of extraction, right? A lot of this, extracting some of those compounds is not like an easy or clean process, but it's something that we have partnered with some companies. We have not found anything that was like, wow,
Right.
or if we have found they were also toxic, because you needed also to purify very well the components of that extract.
Yep.
So it's definitely, there is definitely, you know, an opportunity there. It just takes more time to figure out very systematically how you are gonna isolate, purify, and have the amount of that component that's effective, you know, in targeting senescence in the skin. But yeah, so the concentration and the purity are probably the bottlenecks there, but it's doable. It's possible, and I know companies that are researching that.
Excellent points.
Yeah, for us, the peptide is just like kind of simple. It's like it's smaller, and yeah, it can be synthesized. It's very, very safe. So this makes us very confident of, you know, bringing as a cosmetic as well, because we have like tests like in very high concentrations, and we don't see toxicity effects. So I would say that this is one of the main advantages of the molecule that we are working on.
Yep, understood. Next steps. Any new obviously, once again, nothing confidential, but any interesting new insights in regard to OS01 or other projects? Maybe you're thinking of combinations with the peptide, with other, I know, you know, you're a stem cell expert, and, you know, obviously stem cell stimulation and things of this nature. Any stuff that you can talk about that's on the drawing board in between now and pharmaceuticals?
Yes. So we have, so our main peptide is 10 amino acids. We are now testing a smaller version that it seems very promising. And if it works similarly, we can not only develop, you know, for body application, but it's going to be, you know, cheaper and easier to maybe deliver at higher doses. So we are working on this validation right now to validate the efficacy of this shorter version. In parallel, we have started to test the effect. We are collaborating with some researchers, and then they are testing the application of this peptide for metabolic diseases and some cognitive function. And we have done already the lifespan experiment with C. elegans. So right now, what we are working is to run an RNA-seq to try to understand the mechanism of action in C. elegans that will help us to extrapolate to humans. So these are the main areas that we are working on. So having a shorter peptide that can be applied systemically, you know, and then we want to run this clinical study that addresses the effect of treating your skin and decreasing your body's levels of inflammation, working in collaboration with other researchers to address other age-related diseases or the application for other tissues, and understanding deeper the mechanism of action of this peptide, both in like more simpler models like C. elegans, but we are also repeating in conditions of acute stress, for example, UVB, you know, radiation stimulus, and then treating with peptide. And yeah, basically understanding all the pathways that we are activating in order to also explore and think on other applications for other conditions, you know, for skin and for other tissues.
Very nice. Got a major project, set of projects ahead of you, but it's exciting stuff.
Yeah,
Re-
and also we have another, I forgot to mention, we want to measure the decrease in the skin biological age in vivo. So
Okay.
one of the clinical studies that we are planning right now is to treat, we'll have like subjects using the cream for 6 months to a year. They will
Okay.
apply behind the ear, and then they will collect a biopsy after 6 months, and we'll compare treated versus not treated to see if we are decreasing the skin biological age, and then we are going to measure this using the algorithm that analyzes the methylation profile. And this would be the first indication that we can really decrease skin biological age in vivo, So that's another project that we are working on, and we want to make a correlation with, change in your physical appearance with the biological age.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Very, very neat. Very good stuff. Carolina, typically, we do a wrap-up question on the show about, important people in your life. Obviously, your business partners, your investors, your family, teachers, mentors. You've probably had a lot of them. I'm going to give you the floor again for the wrap-up. But people you want to shout out to, specifically mention. Please take it and run in any direction that you want to. I'm sure there's a lot of people you want to mention.
Wow, it's even harder to think where to start.
Yeah, I know that one when I get that question too. Go ahead.
Well, I think, since, going back to my Ph.D. advisor, what I loved about him is that he would allow us to really go after all of those crazy ideas, things that seemed impossible. But a lot of things that it's a reality today, they seemed impossible like a few years ago, right? So I love that he allowed us to be bold and to use science to really disrupt, things that seem so far and so not easy to reach. And I think this helped me not only to believe, in the power of science in really transforming our lives, but also to start this entrepreneurial career where, I decided to build something that seems like impossible in the beginning, right? Starting a company and now trying to solve aging, or, address aging. And yeah, I see that we are going to change our perspective about aging and how we age, and being part of this revolution is something it's incredible for us as a scientist and also for us as a citizen, thinking that we are really moving the needle in terms of building a better future. So a huge shout out for, my PhD advisor that allowed me that. Next one in my list, I think, would be my brother. That was an example for me of starting from an idea, to being an entrepreneur, almost giving up, and being able to overcome all of those obstacles. And today he has a beautiful project that really transforms the area. It's about reforesting. So they buy the lands and they plant those trees that will grow for 20 years. And after 20 years, they harvest the wood, but it's very impactful, not only in generating, jobs, but transforming the ecosystem around and really helping our planet, because while a lot of people are deforesting, they are reforesting. So it was beautiful to see something going from an idea to something that was really, really, changing the area and the community that they were establishing the business. And then I had so many mentors, but I think IndieBio really was a game changer for us, because coming to Silicon Valley really opened our minds in terms what we can do, and being around, you know, people that are building amazing companies and are really changing the status quo, and you are in the middle of those people, you see that you are also capable of doing something similar. So this mindset and this ecosystem really empowers you to go for something bigger. And we have this saying in Brazil that says that if you dream small or big, it's kind of the same word. So why not like dream big already, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, and when you are surrounded by people that are not only dreaming big, but are really, you know, building these amazing companies, and you feel that you can do the same. They are not, you know, that different from you. So yeah, the partners of IndieBio that allowed me to come here, and they were very important mentors to us to get to where we are today. Yeah, they are definitely, you know, part of this journey, and we are, yeah, they are a reason why we are here today. Yeah, my co-founders also, we were very fortunate to be able to align our expertise to build this company in a way that we could not only complement each other in terms of skills and, you know, personalities, but having them throughout this journey, it really, it makes a difference to have the right people around you, right? So I'm very, very proud of, you know, being able to lead this company with, you know, three other friends, but also, you know, powerful women that are doing amazing science, and yeah, we're building this incredible company together. Yeah, and I'm very fortunate to be around everyone in our team, and even, you know, our last advisor, that's someone that I really admire. So Peter Diamandis was someone that was always like reading his books, and this year I wrote in one of our company's OKRs that we need to bring someone that resonates with our vision, with our technology, and things happened in a way that we connected, and he liked a lot what we were doing, and then basically he came as an advisor, and it's the best thing to see how things align when, you know, you are putting out your message, you are doing your best to share what you believe, and, you know, and then you eventually find people that are on the same path, like talking about the same things and believing similar things, and these partnerships eventually they fall in place almost like naturally. So it's an interesting, I'd say, rhythm of the universe, you know, how yeah. So I'm very, very happy and, you know, grateful for having, you know, people like him believing in us and supporting us to get to where we believe that we can get. This is only the beginning, but very exciting times ahead.
Absolutely, sure sounds like it. You could do a lot worse than Peter Diamandis. So it's a really fascinating story, and wishing you the best with it going forward. For everybody that's going to be watching this episode on the YouTube channel or listening on the podcast, you've been listening to Dr. Carolina Reis Oliveria, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of OneSkin Technologies, doing really amazing things in the biotech and the xenotherapeutic space. Carolina, thank you for taking the time to come on and talk about your company, your vision, your work. Thank you for doing it, and thank you, as we say, for making a better tomorrow. It's been really a pleasure meeting you and having you on the show, and as I said, really the best of luck with this moving forward.
Thank you so much, Ira. Yeah, it's a pleasure. I always share a little bit of our story. And again, from this, we may find other partners, right, that will align with our vision. But I really appreciate your work and helping us to share what we are doing. Other, researchers that are doing amazing science as well. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.